Hello viewers, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to build a full stack MERN authentication and authorization project using Node.js as a backend, React as a frontend, React Bootstrap as a UI library, and MongoDB as a database. First, I will give you the overview of the project. After that, we will start the proper implementation. So let's get started. Let's go to our UI. We have two components. First one is a login and second one that is a sign up. So let's sign up the new customer with the email zach@test.com, and here I'm going to add the name and the password, that is a Zach. Let's click on this sign up to register the new customer. And you can see it's navigating us to the login component. Let's log in the registered customer. And let me add here the password, that is a Zach. Let's click on this login. And it will navigate us to the dashboard component. The navbar is also changed. Let me log out. You can see the navbar for the not logged in users. Let me log in again the customer. And you can see the navbar for the logged in customers. In the dashboard component, you can see here the table where we are getting all the users from our MongoDB. So let me log out. Let's go to our MongoDB and let me show you the structure of our users table. So you can see here the database, that is a JWT_DB that we are using in our project. Under this, we have a users table. And you can see here the structure of our users model, where we have a first column ID, second one that is a name, email, password, role, and the JWT token. We are also saving the JWT token when user login. You can see here the details of the admin, where we have a name, email, password, and the role, that is admin. And you can see the second customer with the name Johan and the role customer. I have hard-coded the details of the admin because we have only one account of the admin in our project. Let's go to our UI and let me log in here the admin. So the email is admin@test.com and the password, that is a admin. Let's click on this login. And you can see it's navigating us to the dashboard component. And you can see here the users that we are getting from the database. For the UI, I have used React Bootstrap. So let me add here the backtick instead of quotes. And here I'm going to add the actual value of the port. So let me open here the integrated terminal under the src package. And here I'm going to write the command to run the Node.js application. So the command is node space app.js. That is the name of our main file. So let's hit enter. And you can see the message that is a server is running on this link. All right, after that, I'm going to write the configuration to connect the Node.js application with MongoDB. So in the src package, I'm going to create a new subpackage with the name configuration. And here I'm going to create a new file, that is a dbconfig.js. Before writing configuration, I'm going to install Mongoose in our Node.js application. So the command is npm install Mongoose. Let's hit enter to install. And you can see Mongoose installed successfully. Let's go to package.json file, and you can see here the version of the Mongoose, that is a 8.1.0. So let's go to our dbconfig, and here I'm going to import Mongoose from Mongoose. So here we need to call mongoose.connect method, and here we need to add the URL of our MongoDB. You can get the URL of the MongoDB from here. So let me copy this. And here I'm going to add slash. After the slash, we need to write here the database name. So the database name is JWT_DB. And here I'm going to call the second method, that is a mongoose.connection.on. If the status is connected, then here I'm going to create an arrow function where I'm going to add console.log with the message, that is a connected to MongoDB. And after that, I'm going to call here mongoose.connection.on and the status, that is a error. Then here I'm going to create an arrow function where we need to add console.log to print the error message. That is a MongoDB connection error. And here we need to add the error. Let me get the error in the argument. Okay, so after that we need to export the Mongos. So here we need to call module.exports is equals to Mongos. Let's save this. So let me stop the application and let's rerun again. And you can see the status. That is, a server is running on this link. So let me open here the CMD. And here I'm going to write the command to create the new React application. So the command is npx space create hyphen react hyphen app space and name of the app. That is a JWT hyphen react. Let's hit enter. And you can see React application created successfully. Let me close this. Let's open this application in VS Code. Let me open here the terminal, and here I'm going to write the command to run the React application. So the command is npm space start. Let's hit enter. And you can see the React application is locally running on this link. So let me copy this and paste here. And you can see here the UI of our newly created React application. So let's go to SRC package and let me open here the app.js file. And here I'm going to remove this code. Let me add here the h1 tag and the caption over here. That is a React application. Let's go to UI and you can see. Let's install the UI library that we will use in this application. So let me open here the new tab and here I'm going to search React Bootstrap. And you can see here the official website of React Bootstrap UI library. Let me click on this get started button. And here I'm going to copy this command to install the React Bootstrap. So let me open here the new terminal. And you can see React Bootstrap installed successfully. Let me open here the package.json file. And you can see here the version of the React Bootstrap, that is a 2.10.6. Let me close this. Let's go to app.js and let me remove this import of app.css. After installing the React Bootstrap, let me scroll down. And I'm going to copy this import. Let's go to React project. Let me open here the index.js file. We need to paste here the import. Let's go to app.js and here I'm going to use the React Bootstrap class, that is a text center. Let's go to UI and you can see the class applied to h1 tag that I'm going to install React Router DOM in our React application that will use to navigate between the components. So let me open here the new tab and here I'm going to search React Router DOM. So let me copy this command. Let me open here the new PowerShell. So you can see here the command, that is a npm install React Router DOM. Let's hit enter. And you can see React Router DOM installed successfully. Let me open here the package.json and you can see here the version of the React Router DOM, that is a 6.1.3. In the SRC package, I'm going to create a new folder with the name pages. Under this, I'm going to create a new folder with the name dashboard. And the second, I'm going to create here header. And the last, I'm going to create here auth. Let's create a component for the header. So let me create here the new file with the name header.js. Let's create here the basic structure of the component. Before that, you need to install an extension. You can see here the extension that installed in my VS Code. I will attach the extension link in the description. Let's write here RAFCE, hit enter, and you can see here the basic structure of the component. Let's create a dashboard component. So let me create here the new file under the dashboard package and name of the component, that is a dashboard.js. So let's write here RAFCE And you can see the basic structure of the component. After this, in the auth package, I'm going to create a new folder with the name login, and the second folder, that is a sign up. Let's create the component for the login. And you can see here the basic structure of login component. Let's create the sign up component. Okay, all the component created successfully. Let's go to index.js, and here I'm going to wrap the app tag with the browser router. Let me shift this tag between the browser router. After this, let's go to app.js. Let me remove this code. So first I'm going to add here the header component because it will static for the application. And after that, I'm going to add here the routes tag where we have a different route. Let me add here the first route with the element login. So the path for this component, that is a /login. Second route for the sign up component. The path for the sign up component, that is a register. And the last route for the dashboard component. So let me add here the dashboard component. And the path for the dashboard component, that is a /dashboard. Okay, so let's go to UI. We can see the header component. So let me add here the URL of the dashboard component, and it will be a /dashboard. Let's hit enter, and you can see dashboard component loaded successfully. Let me add here the path for the login component, and you can see login component loaded successfully. Let me add here the path for the sign up component, and you can see the sign up component. Let me open here the React Bootstrap website. You can see here the official website of React Bootstrap. Let me click on this get started button. Let me open this drop down, and you can see the nav bars. Let me click on this, scroll down, and you can see the nav bar. I will use this one. So let me copy the code. Okay, and you can see we got an error in the console. That is a nav bar container nav is not defined. Let me import this nav bar container, and the last, that is a nav from React Bootstrap, and you can see error removed. Let's go to UI, and you can see the nav bar. Let's add the CSS properties to move these buttons into the right of the screen. So here in the headers package, I'm going to create a new file with the name header.css, and here I'm going to add the styling properties, and you can see the styling properties. Let me add this class on the nav links. So it will be a class name, that is a nav link. So first one we have, that is a login, and second we have sign up. Let me remove this extra nav link. Okay, let me remove this href because we will use here two. So here I'm going to add the property, and it will be a link from React Router DOM. And after that, I'm going to add here the path to navigate the user to the login page when the user click on this login button. So let me add here the path, that is a /login. And for the sign up, that is a /register. So I'm going to update the navbar title, that is a not logged in. And let me remove this href. And on the top, I'm going to import our styling file. So it will be a header.css. And let me update the class name of the nav tag, that is a ML auto. Let's go to UI, and you can see the buttons are moved into the right of the screen. And you can see here the title of the navbar. Let me make it strong. Okay. Let me click on this sign up button, and it's not navigating. Let me check what is the issue. Okay, so we need to add here the to instead of path. Now I'm going to click on this sign up button, and you can see it's navigating us to the sign up component. Let me click on this login button, and you can see the login component loaded successfully. So first of all, I'm going to create a user model. So let me create here the sub package under the src, that is a models. In the models package, I'm going to create a new file with the name user.js. So let me import here Mongos, and it will be a required. And here I'm going to import our DB configuration. So let me select here configuration /db config. And here I'm going to call mongos.schema. And here I'm going to declare the properties that we need to create in our user model. So first one is a name, that is a type of a string. Second, that is a email, and it will be a type of a string. Third one, that is a password, and it will also be a type of a string. And the last one I'm going to add here, that is a role. Let me add here the type, that is a string, and it will be a enum. In this application, first one is a admin, and second, that is a customer. And here I'm going to add by default role, that is a customer. So let me add here default, and it will be a customer, because we have only one admin account in our application. That's why I've added here the by default role customer. Let me add here const user schema, and it will be a new. After that, I'm going to export this. So we need to add here module dot exports is equals to mongos dot model, and it will be a user. And here we need to pass this, that is a user schema. Okay. After that, I'm going to install bcrypt. Bcrypt will use to convert the password into the type of a hash. So let me open here the terminal, and here I'm going to write the command to install the bcrypt. So the command is npm install bcrypt. Let's hit enter, and you can see bcrypt installed successfully. After that, I'm going to create a new subpackage under the src with the name services. In this, I'm going to create a new file with the name signup.js. So let me import here our user model. So we need to add here the path, that is a /models/user. And after that, I'm going to import here bcrypt. After that, I'm going to create here the async function with the name create user. In the argument, it will receive an object of the user. So we need to get the name, email, password from our object, that is a user data. And after that, I'm going to call here bcrypt.hash, and here we need to pass the password to change the password into the hash form. And here I'm going to initialize the variable, that is a hashed password, to save the response of this. And here I'm going to create an object to create the new user. So let me call here our model, that is a user. First, we need to pass here name. Second, we need to pass here email. Third, we need to pass here the hashed password. And the last, we need to pass here role, that is a customer. Let me save the response of this object into this variable. Let me add here, that is a created user, and here I'm going to call method, that is a save. So let me add here created user and the method to save the new user, that is a save. And here I'm going to initialize a variable, that is a saved user, to save the response of this method, and it will be a await. And after that, we need to return here the saved user. Let me add here await. Okay, let me verify the spelling. So after that, I'm going to export this function. So let me add here module.exports, and we need to export this function, that is a create user. Okay. So let's go to src package, and here I'm going to create a new folder with the name controllers, and here I'm going to create a new file with the name user controller.js. So let me import here user service, and here I'm going to create an async function with the name create user, and here I'm going to add request and the response. Inside the function, I'm going to add here the try and the catch block. So let me add here the catch. In the argument, it will catch an error, and here I'm going to add console.log to print the error into the console. And we also need to send the error in the response. So let me add here rest.status, that is a 400, and the response in the type of JSON, that is a error.message. So in the try block, I'm going to call method from our user service. Before that, I'm going to create an object, that is a user data, and here we need to get the details of the user from our request body. And after that, I'm going to call method from our user service, that is a create a user, and here we need to pass user data in the argument of the method. So here I'm going to create an object to save the response of this method, and it will be a user. And let me add here the await, and after that we need to send the response, that is a rest.status, that is a 201 created, and the response in the type of a JSON. Here we need to pass the created user and the message, that is a user created. And after that, we need to export this function. So let me add here module.export, and here I'm adding the function name, that is a create user. So let's go to src package, and here I'm going to create a new subfolder with the name routes. Under this, I'm going to create a new file with the name signup.js. Let me update the controller name, that is a signup.js. Let's go to signup.js under the route, and here I'm going to import express. After that, I'm going to import here signup controller. After that, I'm going to initialize the router. So here I'm going to call express.router. So here we need to call router, and the mapping, I'm going to add here post. So the URL of the endpoint, that is a /register, and here we need to call method from our signup controller. that is a create user. So for that we need to export this router. So let me add here module.exports, and it will be a router. So let's go to app.js, and here I'm going to import our signup route. And after that, I'm going to import here body parser. So here I'm going to call app.use, and here we need to pass body parser.json to convert the body into the type of a JSON that we got with the API request. So after that, I'm going to call app.use, and here I'm going to add a signup route. So the request mapping of the signup route, that is a /user. Let me open here the integrated terminal under the src package. And here I'm going to write the command to run the Node.js application. So the command is node space app.js. Let's hit enter. And you can see we got an error. Let me check what is the issue. Okay, so let's fix this issue. Let's go to dbconfig.js, and here I'm going to update this link, and it will be a MongoDB :// Let me add here the IP address. Okay, and here I'm going to add server selection timeout, that is a 5 seconds. So let me clear the console, and let's rerun the Node.js application. And you can see error removed. Let's go to Postman. Let me add here the URL of our backend application, that is http://localhost:5000, and let me add here the URL of our signup route, that is a /user. You can see. So let's go to signup route, and you can see here the URL of our register API, that is a /register. Let me copy this and let me paste after that. So the mapping, that is a post. Let me add here the body in the type of a JSON. So first one, we have a name, that is a customer. Second, we have an email. I'm going to add here. And the last, that is a password. Let me add here the password, that is a customer. Okay. So let's click on the send button to register the new user. Now you can see we got an error. Let me check. That is a rest.status is not a function. I think we have added the wrong spelling of status. Let me check. Okay. So let me add here the correct spelling of the status. Let's rerun the application. Let's go to Postman. Let's click on the send button. And you can see the status, that is a 201 created. And you can see here the created user with the name, email, role. And you can see here the ID. And you can see here the message, that is a user created successfully. Let's go to MongoDB. Let me refresh the user's model. And you can see here the created user with the name, email, and the role. We can't see the password here. Let's check. You can see here the sign up service. We need to assign the hash password to our key, that is a password. Okay, so let me rerun the Node.js application. Let's go to MongoDB. Let me delete this created user. Let's go to Postman. Let's click on the send button to create the user again. And you can see user created successfully with the status 201 created. And you can see here the object of the user with the name, email, and you can see here the password in the form of hash. You can see the role, ID, and you can see here the message, that is a user created successfully. Let's go to MongoDB. Let me refresh the user's model, and you can see the details of the created user. So let's go to Postman. Let me create another user with the name customer1. And let me add here the email, that is a customer1@test. You can see here the React application. Let's go to sign up component, and here I'm going to add the form tag. So first of all, I'm going to add here the h1 tag with the form caption sign up. After that, I'm going to add here the input for the email. You can see here the input for the email. After that, I'm going to add here the input for the name. You can see here the input for the name. After that, I'm going to add here the input for the password. You can see here the input for the password. After that, I'm going to add here the button to submit the form, and you can see here the button with the caption sign up. So let me check the console, what errors we are getting, and you can see button is not defined. Let's go to top, and here I'm going to import button from React Bootstrap, and you can see error removed. Let's go to UI, and you can see here the static form for the sign up. Let me change the variant of the button from primary to dark, and you can see the variant of the button, that is a dark. So in the signup package, I'm going to create a new file with the name signup.css. Let's create this, and here I'm going to add the CSS properties for the signup form. You can see here the CSS properties. Okay, so let's go to signup component, and here I'm going to import our CSS file. After importing the CSS file, I'm going to add here the class name on the main div. Let me copy the class name from the CSS file, that is a center-form. Let me paste here. Let's go to UI, and you can see the CSS properties are applied successfully. Let me update the background color of the signup button. So let's go to signup.css file, and you can see here the properties for the button. Let me comment this property. Let's go to UI, and you can see the background color of the button changed successfully. Okay, so after creating the form, I'm going to make it reactive. Like, we need to get the input values on the submission of the form. So let's go to sign up component, and here inside the sign up function, I'm going to declare the use state for our inputs, and it will be a from use state. Let me declare the inputs that we need to get from the form. So the first one is a email, that is by default empty. Second, that is a name, that is by default empty, and the last one, that is a password. Okay, so let's go to our form, and here on the input of the email address, I'm going to add here the property that is a value. So we need to call our use state, that is a form data, and this input for our email. Let me copy this. Let's go to input for the name, and let me paste after that, and this input for the name. So let me add here the form data dot name, and the last one, that is for the password. Let me add here, and here we need to add form data dot password. Okay, so after that, I'm going to add here the event, that is a on change, and on the on change event, we need to call a method, that is a handle input change. Let me add this event, all of these inputs. Let's declare this method inside our signup function. So let me declare after the use state, and it will be a const. In the argument, it will receive an event. Let me add here the arrow function, and here we need to clone the inputs. After this, we need to call the use state, that is a set form data, and here we need to clone the input. Here is the name of the input, and here is the input value. So after that, I'm going to create the function handle submit, and it will be a async. And here I'm going to add console.log to print the input values in the console. So first one, we have email. Second, we have name, and the last one, we have password. Okay, so let me copy the method name, and we need to call this method on the on submit event. So on the form tag, I'm going to add the event, that is a on submit, and on this event, we need to call the method, that is a handle submit. After this, inside the handle submit, I'm going to call here the property, that is a e.prevent default. Let's go to UI. Let me open here the inspect. Let's fill the form. Let's click on this sign up button to submit the form. And you can see here the values that we got from the form with the email, name, and the password. You can see here the Node.js application. So first of all, I'm going to install course in Node.js application. The course will use to allow all origins that API request will get from the front end. So let me open here the PowerShell. And here I'm going to write the command to install the course. So the command is npm space install, and the course over here, let's hit enter. And you can see course installed successfully. Let me open here the package.json, and you can see here the version of the course, that is a 2.8.5. So here in the app.js, I'm going to use course. Before that, I'm going to import. And here in the argument, we need to pass course. Okay, so let me stop the application and rerun again. And you can see application started. Let's go to React application and call this API. You can see here the sign up component in the React application inside the handle submit function. Let me remove this console.logs. Here I'm going to add try catch and finally block. And finally over here, in the catch block, I'm going to add console.error, where we will print the error message. In the finally block, I'm going to make the state empty. So let me call here set form data. And here we need to empty the email name and the password input. So the first one we have email. Let me make it empty. After that, we have a name input. And the last, we have the password input. Okay. And in the try block, I'm going to write the implementation to call the API from Node.js. In the argument of the fetch, I'm going to add the URL of our backend application. That is a http://localhost port, that is a 5000 slash URL of our API, that is a user/register. After that, we need to add here the method, that is a post. We also need to add here the content type, so it will be in the headers. Let me add here the content type, and it will be a type of application/JSON. Okay. After that, we need to pass here the body. So let me add here the state, that is a form data, and we need to pass in the type of a JSON. So let me call here JSON.stringify, and in the argument we need to pass the state, that is a form data. So here I'm going to initialize a variable, that is a response, to save the response of this API. After that, I'm going to transform the response in the type of a JSON. Let me initialize here the variable to save the response of this. Okay. So after that, I'm going to add here the console.log, where we will print the result into the console. After getting the response, we need to navigate the user to the login page. So let me initialize here the use navigate hook. Okay, so here I'm going to call navigate, and here we need to pass the URL of our login page, that is a /login. Let me add here the await. Okay, so let's go to UI and let's test the API. You can see here the sign up component. Let me add here the email and the name and the password over here. Let's click on this sign up button, and you can see the response of the API with the message user created successfully. And you can see here the user object that we got from the response of the API with the ID, role, password, that is the form of a hash, name and the email. And it also navigates us to the login component. Let's go to UI and let's create another user. So let me add here the email and the name and the password over here. And you can see it's navigate us to the login component. Let's go to MongoDB. Let me refresh the user's model. And you can see here the second created user with the name Zach. We will create an account manually because we have only one admin in the entire application. So in the src package, I'm going to create a new folder with the name scripts. Under the scripts package, I'm going to create a new file with the name admin.js. In this file, we will write to create the admin account. So first of all, I'm going to import here users model. After that, I'm going to import here bcrypt. After importing the user model and the bcrypt, I'm going to create here the async function. And name of the function, that is a create admin account. So here I'm going to add try and the catch block. In the catch block, we will catch the exception in case of API failing. Inside the catch block, I'm going to add console.error to print the error message. We also need to export this function. So let me add here module.exports. And we need to add here the method name, that is a create admin account. Okay, inside the try block, I'm going to write the functionality to get the admin by email. If admin exists, then we need to return a message, that is a admin already exists in DB. In case if admin account is not found, then we need to create a new admin account. So here I'm going to get the user by email. So let me call here the query from the users model. that is a find one. And here we need to search the user by email. So first we need to add here the key, that is a email, and we need to match with admin@test.com, that is a email of the admin. So I'm going to initialize here the variable to save the response of this. So it will be a existing admin. And let me add here the await. So after getting the admin by email, we need to check here if existing admin not found, then we need to create here the new admin. Otherwise, I'm going to add here the else block, where we will show the message that is a admin already exists. So let me add here the console.log. Okay, so in the if block, I'm going to create a new user. So first I'm going to set here the email, that is a admin@test.com. Second, we have name, that is a admin. Third, we have password. So we need to save the password in the hash form. So let me call here bcrypt.hash, and here I'm going to add the password in the form of a string, and the bcrypt will change the password into the hash form. So the password is admin. Okay, and here I'm going to add a wait, and the last we have a role, that is a admin. Okay, so here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of this object, and name of the variable, that is a new admin. After adding the details of the user, we need to save the admin account to DB. So here I'm going to call new admin.save method, and let me add here the await. After that, I'm going to call here the console.log to print the message, that is a admin account created successfully. Okay, so let's go to app.js and import the method, that is a create admin account. After importing the method, I'm going to call this method in the app.js because we need to call it every time when the application start running. So let me call here create admin account. Okay, let's start the Node.js application. So here in the src package, I'm going to open integrated terminal. Let's write here the command, that is a node space app.js. And you can see the message, that is a admin account created successfully. Let's go to MongoDB and let's check the admin account is created or not. Let me refresh the users model. And you can see here the admin account with the name admin, email, that is a admin@test.com, and the password, that is a form of a hash, and the role, that is a admin. So let's go to Node.js application and let me stop this and let's rerun again. And you can see here the message, that is a admin already exists. Let's go to MongoDB. Let me refresh the users model. And you can see we have only one admin account in the DB. Okay. In the JWT configuration file, we will generate a secret random key that we'll use to generate the JWT token of the user. So in the JWT utils file, we will create a generate token function where we will create the JWT token of the user with the expiration. So let's get started. In the src package, I'm going to create here the new folder, that is a utils. In the utils package, I'm going to create here the new file, that is a JWT utils.js. So let me open here the terminal, and here I'm going to write the command to install the crypto. Let's hit enter. And you can see here crypto installed successfully. Let me open here the package.json, and you can see here the version of the crypto, that is a 1.0.1. Let me close the terminal. And here in the configuration package, I'm going to create here the new class, that is a JWT config.js. So first of all, I'm going to import here the crypto. After importing the crypto, I'm going to write the functionality to generate the random secret key. I'm going to initialize here the variable, that is a const secret key. And here we need to call crypto.random bytes. And here in the argument, I'm going to add here the random key length, that is a 32. And we need to change into the string. So after that, I'm going to export this. So let me add here module.exports. And we need to export the secret key. Okay, well, let me close this. Let's go to JWT utils. In this file, I'm going to create here the function, that is a generate token. The generate token will receive the user object. So let me open here the terminal, and I'm going to install the JSON Web Token. So the command is npm install JSON Web Token. Let's hit enter. And you can see JSON Web Token installed successfully. Let me open here the package.json, and you can see here the version of the JWT, that is a 9.0.2. So first of all, I'm going to import here the JSON Web Token. After that, I'm going to import here the secret key that I have created in the JWT config.js in the configuration package. In the require, we need to add the path. After importing the JWT and the secret key, I'm going to create here the function that is a generate token. In the argument, it will receive a user object. After the function, I'm going to export this. So let me add here module.exports. And we need to export this function that is a generate token. Okay, so inside the generate token function, I'm going to create here the object that is a payload. So first we have ID. We will get ID from user dot underscore ID. Second we have email. We will get email from user dot email. Third we have a role, and we will get role from user dot role. Okay. After that, I'm going to return here JWT dot sign. So first we need to pass here the payload, and second we need to pass here the secret key. And after that, we need to add here the expiration of the token. So let me add here expire in, that is a 60 minutes. Okay. You can see here the services package. In this, I'm going to create a new file with the name login.js. So first of all, I'm going to import here bcrypt. For that, I'm going to import here the user model. And here I'm going to add the path of the user model. After this, I'm going to import the generate token method from the JWT util file. Okay. After that, I'm going to create here the async function, and name of the function that is a login. In the argument, it will receive email and the password. And here I'm going to add try and the catch block. In the catch block, it will catch the exception in case of API failing. And here I'm going to throw new error, that is a invalid credentials. We also need to export this function. So let me add here module.exports. And we need to export the login function. Okay, inside the try block, I'm going to write the functionality to generate the JWT token of the logged in user. So first of all, we need to get the user by email from the DB. So here I'm going to call our model that is a user, and the query that is a find one. And here we need to pass email. Let me add here the await. And here I'm going to create an object to save the response of this query. After getting the user, we need to check in the if condition. If user not exist, then we need to throw new error, that is a user not found. If user exists, then we need to compare the password of the user. So here I'm going to call bcrypt.compare. First, we need to pass here the password that we got in the argument. And second, we need to get the password of the user that saved in the DB. So we will get from existing user dot password. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of this. Okay, after that, I'm going to add here the if condition where we need to check if is password valid. Then we need to generate the token of the user. Otherwise, we will throw the exception that is a invalid password. And here I'm going to write the logic to generate the JWT token. So let me call here the method that is a generate token. So here we need to pass the object that is a existing user. Let me initialize here the variable to save the JWT token. And after this, we need to return the token. Okay, let's go to controllers, and here I'm going to create a new file that is a login.js. In the login.js file under the controllers package, I'm going to import here the auth service. After this, I'm going to create here the async function and name of the function that is a login. In the argument, I'm going to add here the request and the response. Let me add here the try and the catch block. In the catch block, it will catch an exception. And here I'm going to send the response that is a rest.status. It is a 401. And the message in the type of a JSON. That is a invalid credentials. After that, I'm going to export the login function. So let me add here module.exports. And we need to export the login function. So let me add here login. Inside the try block, I'm going to write the functionality to get the email and the password from the request body. After getting the credentials, we need to call method from our auth service to generate the JWT token. So first we need to get the email and the password from the request body. After getting these parameters from request body, we need to call a method from the auth service. So let me call here auth service and the method that is a login. And here we need to pass email and the password. Let me add here the await. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of this. After this, we need to return the response in the type of a JSON. So let me add here rest.json and the token over here. Okay. You can see here the routes package. I'm going to create here the new file with the name login.js. So first of all, I'm going to import here the express. After that, I'm going to import here the course. After this, I'm going to import a login function from the login controller. So here I'm going to add the path of our login controller. After importing this, I'm going to initialize here the router, and it will be from express.router. Let me export the module that is a router. And here I'm going to create the post router that is a login. So first of all, I'm going to add here the URL of our endpoint that is a /login. And here we need to call a method from our login controller that is a login. Let's go to app.js. Let me import here the login route. And here I'm going to use login route. So it will be a app.use. First, we need to pass here the mapping that is a /auth. And after that, we need to navigate the request to the login route. Let me open here the integrated terminal under the src package. And here I'm going to write the command to run the Node.js application. So the command is node space app.js. You can see we got an error. Let me check. Cannot find module JSON Web Token. Let's go to utils and the JWT utils. Let me check where we are using JSON Web Token. Okay, so I have added the wrong spelling of the JSON Web Token. Let me add here the K. Let me clear the console. Let's rerun the application. Okay, we got another error that is a router.course. Let's go to login route, and here we need to add router.use. Let me clear the console. Let's run the Node.js application again. And you can see Node.js application started successfully. Let's go to Postman. Let me add here the URL of our Node.js application. Let me copy from here. After the URL, I'm going to add here the mapping that I've added in the app.js. You can see that is a /auth and the URL of our endpoint that is a /login. Mapping that is a post, and in the body I'm going to select here the JSON. I'm going to log in the admin. So let me add here the credentials of the login that is a admin@test.com and the password. You can see here the React application. So first of all, I'm going to create here the new file that is a login.css. Let's go to sign up component. Let me copy the HTML code. Let me add here in the login.js file. You can see here the caption of the form that is a sign up. Let me update this that is a login. So we need to get the email and the password to generate the JWT token of the logged in user. So let me remove this input that is a name, and let me update the button name that is a login. Let's go to sign up component and let me copy all of this code. Let me paste here inside the login function. Let me import this use navigate from React router DOM. Let me import this use state. We have two inputs. First one is the email and second we have a password. So let me declare the state for the email and the password. Let me remove this name. After the use state, we have a method that is a handle input change. This method used to clone the input value in the use state. After the handle input change method, we have a method that is a handle submit. In this method, we are calling the login endpoint from the Node.js application. So let me add here the URL of our login API that is a /auth/login. And the method that is a post, and we need to send the body in the type of a JSON. We are saving the response of the API in this variable that is a response. And here I have added response.json to transform the response in the JSON. After getting the response, I have added here the console.log to print the result into the console. And we need to navigate the user to the dashboard component. So let me add here the path of our dashboard component that is a /dashboard. You can see here the form tag. I have added here the onSubmit event to submit the form. On the onSubmit event, we are calling the method that is a handle submit to call the endpoint. We have also bind the input with the use state. First one, we have a form data dot email, and on the onChange event, we are calling this method that is a handle input change to clone the input. Second, we have form data dot password, and you can see here the onChange event where we are calling this method. So let me import here the login.css file. Let's go to UI. You can see we got an error that is a form and the button is not defined. Second, we have a button. So let me import from React Bootstrap. You can see here the import statement. Let's go to UI and you can see here the login form. Let me open here the inspect. Let's add the credential of the admin. Let's click on this login button. You can see here the response of the API, that is a JWT token of the admin, and it also navigates us to the dashboard component. We need to save the token into the local storage of the browser. You can see here the local storage. Right now it's empty. Let's go to React application. Here I'm going to write the functionality to save the token into the local storage. So let me call here local storage dot set item. First, we need to pass here the key, that is a token. And second, we need to pass here the actual token. So it will be a result dot token. Let's go to UI. Let me log in again the admin. Let's click on this login button. And you can see the token saved into our local storage successfully. Let's log in the customer. Let's click on this login button to generate the token of the customer. And you can see it's navigate us to the dashboard component, and you can see here the token for the customer. Let's go to React application. You can see here the header component. So first of all, I'm going to get the token from the local storage. So here we need to call our local storage and the method that is a get item. And here we need to pass the key, that is a token. After getting the token from the local storage, I'm going to add here the HTML code. Let me remove the previous one. You can see here the updated nav bar with the condition. If we have a token, then we need to show the primary color. Otherwise, we will show here the dark. You can see here the nav bar brand tag where we have a condition. If the token exists, then we need to show the nav bar title that is a logged in. Otherwise, we will show the not logged in title. And you can see here the condition on the nav tag. If the token exists, then we need to show the buttons that is a dashboard and the logout. If the token not exists, then we need to show the login and the sign up button. And you can see here the logout button where we have a one click event. On this event, we are calling the method that is a handle logout. Let me copy the method name, and here I'm going to create a method. It will be a const. On the click of logout button, we need to remove the token from the local storage. So let me call here local storage and the method that is a remove item. And here we need to pass the key that is a token. After removing the token, we need to navigate the user to the login page. So let me initialize here the hook that is a use navigate. And here we need to call a navigate. In the argument, we need to add here the path that is a slash login. Let's go to UI. Let me log in here the admin. And you can see the token saved into our local storage. And you can see here the logged in nav bar with the title. And you can see here the button that is a dashboard and the second that is a logout. Let me click on this logout button. And you can see the token removed from the local storage. And it also navigates us to the login page. And the nav bar is also changed. You can see here the Node.js application. So first of all, I'm going to create a new file under the utils package, and name of the file that is a auth middleware. In this file, I'm going to import here the JSON Web Token and the secret key that we have created in the JWT config file. You can see here we are generating the random key. After importing the JSON Web Token, I'm going to import here the secret key from the configuration package. So here we need to add the path of the JWT config file. After importing the JSON Web Token and the secret key, we need to create here the method that is a authenticate token. Let me export this function. And here I'm going to add the function name that is a authenticate token. Inside the authenticate token, I'm going to get the authorization key. So let me add here the request, response, and the next. Let me declare here the variable that is a auth header. And here I'm going to call our request.header method. And we need to get here the key that is a authorization. After getting the key, I'm going to add here the if condition where we need to check if the authorization key is not exist. Then we need to return here the response. Let me add here the status, that is a 401, and I'm going to add here the response in the type of a JSON. And the message over here, that is a unauthorized missing token. After verification the authorization key, we need to verify the token with the barrier. Let me call here auth header and the JavaScript method, that is a split. And here I'm going to add the space. Before the space, we have a barrier, and after the space, we have a token. So I have added here the JavaScript function, that is a split, to split the string. After getting the barrier and the token, I'm going to add here the if condition where we need to check if the barrier and the token is not exist, then we need to return here the response. Let me return here the response with the status 401 and the message in the type of a JSON, that is a unauthorized invalid token format. In case if barrier and the token is valid, then we need to call a method from our JSON Web Token, that is a verify. So here we need to pass the token and the secret key. In the argument of the method, I'm going to add here the error and the user. And here I'm going to add if condition where we need to check the error. If we got an error, then we need to return here the response with the status 403, that is a forbidden. And the error message in the type of a JSON. In case if the error not exist, then we need to call here request.user. And here we need to pass the user. And let me add here the method to navigate the request to the actual part of the API. So let me call here next method. Okay. So this is the implementation of the verified token where we are verifying the authorization key. If the authorization key not exist, then we need to return here the response, that is a unauthorized missing token. After this, we are verifying the barrier and the token. If the barrier and the token not exist, then we need to return here the response, that is a unauthorized invalid token format. After verifying the authorization and the token, we need to verify the actual token. So I have called the method from the JSON Web Token, that is a verify, where we are passing the token and the secret key that we are getting from the configuration package. And after that, we are sending the error and the user. And inside the verify method, we need to check the error. If the error exists, then we need to return here the response with the status 403, that is a forbidden invalid token. If error not exist, then we need to navigate the request to the actual implementation of the API. It will be an authenticated API, like we will access this API with the JWT token. In the services package, I'm going to create here the new file with the name user.js. In this file, I'm going to import here the user model. After importing the user model, I'm going to create here the async function. And name of the method, that is a get users. Let me export this function. So it will be a module.exports. And here we need to pass the method name, that is a get users. Inside the get users method, I'm going to call here our model, that is a user, and the query, that is a find, to get all the users. So it will be a await. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the users, and we need to return this object. In the controllers package, I'm going to create here the new file with the name user.js. I'm going to import here user service. After importing the user service, I'm going to create here the async function with the name get users. In the argument, I'm going to add here request and the response. And I'm going to export this function. So it will be a module.exports. And here we need to pass the method name, that is a get users. Inside the get users method, I'm going to add here the try and the catch block. In the catch block, we will catch an exception in case of API failing. And here I'm going to add the response. And the status over here, that is a 500, and the error message in the type of a JSON. Inside the try block, I'm going to call method from our user service, that is a get users. Let me add here the await, and here I'm going to initialize a variable, that is a users, to save the response of this method. And after that, we need to return the response in the type of a JSON. So it will be a rest.json, and in the argument, we need to pass here the users object. Let's go to routes, and here I'm going to create a new file with the name user.js. In this file, I'm going to import here express. After this, I'm going to import here course. After the course, I'm going to import here user controller. After importing the user controller, I'm going to import here auth middleware that we have created in the utils package. Let's go to login route. Let me copy the code. Let me paste after that. And here I'm going to add the mapping, that is a router.get, and the URL of this API, that is a /users. So first we need to call method from our auth middleware, that is a authenticate token. Let me add the method name, that is authenticate token. After this, we need to call method from our user controller, that is a get users. Let's go to app.js, and here I'm going to import the user route. So it will be app.use, and here I'm going to add the path, that is a /API, and we need to navigate the request to the user route. In the src package, I'm going to open the integrated terminal to run the Node.js application. So the command is node space app.js. That is the name of our main file. Let's hit enter. And you can see our application started. Let's call this API from Postman. Let me add here the URL of our login API. So the URL is /auth/login. And the mapping, I'm going to select here post. In the body, I'm going to add here the credentials of the admin. Let's click on this send button. And you can see here the JWT token of the admin. Let me copy the token. Open the new tab. Let's go to headers section. And here I'm going to add the key, that is a authorization. And in the value, I'm going to add here barrier, paste, and the token over here. Let me add here the URL of our get users API. That is a /API/users. Let's click on the send button. You can see here the response with the status 200 OK. And you can see here the list of the users that saved in our DB. Let's log in here the customer. Let's click on the send button to generate the token of the customer. Let me copy the token. Let me add here. Let's click on the send button again. And you can see here the response of the API with the status 200 OK. And you can see here the list of the users. You can see here the React application. Let's go to dashboard component, and here I'm going to write the functionality to get the list of the users from the DB. So first of all, I'm going to get the token from the local storage. In the codes, we need to add here the key, that is a token. Let me declare here the use state, that is a users. Let me add here the use effect method. Inside the use effect, I'm going to create a new method, that is a fetch users. It will be an arrow function. Let me add here the try and the catch block. Catch block for catch the exception. And here I'm going to add console.error to print the error message into the console. Inside the try block, I'm going to call here the method, that is a fetch. Inside this, I'm going to add here the URL of our get users endpoint. And you can see here the URL of our endpoint, that is a /API/users. And here I'm going to add the headers where we will attach the token. Let me add here the key, that is a authorization. Value over here. So it will be a await. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of the API. Let me fix this. After getting the response, I'm going to transform the response in the type of a JSON. So let me call here the method, that is a JSON. Let me add here the await, and I'm going to initialize here the variable to save the transformed response. After this, we need to call here the use state, that is a set users, and here we need to pass the transformed result. After this, I'm going to add here the if condition where we need to check if the token exists. Then we need to call here the method, that is a fetch users. In case if token is not exist, then we need to navigate the user to the login page. So let me initialize here the use navigate hook. So here I'm going to add else condition where we need to navigate the user to the login page. So it will be a /login. And here I'm going to pass the token. Let's check the console, what warnings we are getting. Okay, so here we need to pass the navigate after the token. After the implementation of the API, I'm going to add here the HTML code. So you can see here the HTML code. You can see here the table tag where we have a 2T head, that is a name and the email, and you can see here the values of the name and the email. I have added here the use state, that is a users, and we are getting the user one by one from the array. Let me shift this condition outside of the fetch users method. And you can see warning removed. Let's go to UI. And you can see here the list of the users that we are getting. Let me refresh the component. Let's click on this logout, and here I'm going to log in the customer. Let's click on this login button, and you can see we are getting the list of the users in the response of authenticated API. You can see here the Node.js application. Let's go to auth-middleware.js. In this file, I'm going to create a new function that is a verified token. In the argument, it will receive a token. And here I'm going to call JWT.verify. In the argument, we need to pass here the token that we are getting in the argument. And second, we need to pass here the secret key. You can see here the JWT from the JSON Web Token. And you can see here the secret key that we are getting from the JWT config file. So we also need to return this. Let me export this function. Let's go to login.js under the services package. In this file, I'm going to create an async function that is a refresh token. In the argument, it will receive an old token. I'm going to import a method from the auth-middleware.js that is a verified token. And here I'm going to call verified token. In the argument, we need to pass here the old token. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of this method. After getting the response of this method, I'm going to call here user model and the query that is a find by ID. In the argument, we need to pass here the ID that we are getting in this variable that is a decoded token. That is a underscore ID. Let me save the response of this into this object that is a user. And here I'm going to add the condition where we need to check if user is not exist, then we need to return here the response that is a user not found. If the user exists, then we need to call here the method that is a generate token. In the argument, we need to pass here the user object. And here I'm going to initialize a variable to save the response of this method. And here I'm going to return the new token. Let me add here the try block. Let me move this code inside the try block. And here I'm going to add the catch block. It will catch an exception in case of API failing. And here we need to throw new error. That is an invalid token. Let me export this function. Let's go to login.js under the controllers package. Let me copy this function. Let me paste after that. Let me update the function name that is a refresh token. From the request body, we need to get the token. And here we need to call the method from our auth service that is a refresh token. In the argument, we need to pass here the token that we are getting from the request body. Let me update the object name that is a new token. Let me update the response. And inside the catch block, I'm going to update the message that is a invalid token. Let me export this function. Let's go to login.js under the routes package. Let me copy this line. Let me update the URL. So it will be a refresh hyphen token. Let me import here the method that is a refresh token. And here we need to call the method that is a refresh token. So this is the implementation of the refresh token API. Let me open here the integrated terminal under the src package. And here I'm going to write the command to run the Node.js application. So the command is node space app.js. And you can see application started. Let's go to Postman and let's test the API. You can see here the URL of our login endpoint that is a /auth/login. And you can see here the credentials of the admin. Let's click on the send button to generate the token of the admin. Let me copy the token. You can see here the URL of our refresh token endpoint that is a /auth/refresh token. And you can see here the body where we have a key that is a token. Inside the quotes, I'm going to add here the token of the admin. Let's click on the send button to generate the refresh token of the admin. And you can see here the status of the API that is a 200 OK. And you can see here the object with the refreshed token. Let's go to the previous tab. Let me add here the credentials of the customer. Let's click on the send button to generate the token of the customer. Let me copy this token. Let's go to the second tab. Let me remove the previous one. Let me add here the token of the customer. Let's click on this send button. And you can see here the status of the API, that is a 200. Okay, and you can see here the object with the refreshed token. So that's all for now from my side. I hope you like this video. If you have any confusion, you can do comment, and also subscribe to my channel for more videos and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.